All right, everyone. Welcome back to Mentorship Support. Glad to be here with you guys. And I wanted to do this video just to give you a heads up. I know this has been out for a little while. It's been a little while since the tragedy in Australia has taken place. But the warning came to my inbox, giving me information on 47 different scams that are going around the United States and even in other places in the world, collecting money for the Australian bushfires. Um, everybody wants to help out. There's people that do want to help out. Not every single person, but the people that can help out, there are people that want to help out. And sometimes you come across a site and you say, you know what? Oh, look at that. I can help out. Let me go there. Let me donate some money, right? You guys need to do your homework. Do your homework. Make sure that wherever you're sending it, here's a couple really good tips. Number one, if somebody's collecting money, you should be able to contact that organization via telephone. If you can't talk to someone on the phone, there's one thing to look at. That's one red flag. And even if they got a phone, you need to have some other things you need to look at as well. And there's several things you can do to, look into who it is that's collecting. You can obviously, if you're really not sure, don't do it. If you've got hesitation and you're hesitating to do it, then don't do it. You can find legitimate places where you can donate money to help these guys out. And yes, they need the help. They need the money. They need the funding. They need the extra hands. They need all the help that they can get. It has been estimated that over 1 billion, that's a big number when it comes to animals. That's a big number. We think it's big when it comes to the dollars. It's a lot bigger when it comes to animals. I was speaking to my son actually earlier about this, and he said, well, Dad, you know that this can cause more damage than what people think. And hey, Brett, come here a minute. I'm gonna ask him a question real quick. I don't want to say it wrong and mess it up. This guy knows his science. He knows this kind of stuff. Come over on this side so you can be heard. You're not. So explain to me, with this whole deal going on in Australia, how can that be damaged later on? What can you give me a little bit of your description on where the damage can happen? We talked about it earlier.
I mean, it really depends on the extent of the ecological damage.
So the ecosystem, right?
Yeah, the ecosystem of the area can get to the point of minimal to no repair.
So what do you think? Do you think that's something that will affect the people themselves, or is it something that's just going to affect the entire environment?
It'd be both. Affect both. It is some kind of scale.
What about like I'm trying to picture, how would it affect the people as far as living? What could it do to them? Give an example. I just want people to understand what you mean by it's messing up the ecosystem. Give them an example of how it would mess it up.
For one, it's going to be about a dozen or so species dropping numbers out of nowhere.
So even with if there are some, you're saying because of the low numbers, it would be hard for them to populate again? Crazy. Well, I appreciate it, man, for your point of view on that. And he's heading back to his cave. not a real cave, people. He don't live in a cave, I promise. But no, let's listen to the video I got here about the scams that apparently been taking place. We're going to watch it now. And make sure I didn't.
Drop the bottom button, Zach. More button drop down. Amplitate. Pause share button.
I'm just
Share button, Zach. Open participants. Video settings. Button to
checking
activate.
my
Start my video
audio
button to
here.
activate. Audio settings button to activate. Mute currently unmuted button to activate. Press space bar.
Okay, we're good there.
Australian bushfires. Fire victims hit by fundraising scams
So-
from Chrome. Australian bushfires. Fire victims.
Here we go.
Document. Australian bushfires. Fire victims. Cost setting level. ACCC warrant blank. Aussies of Doug blank. Link more stories by links. You're watching heading level. Father. Continue video player region. Continue watching button.
All right, here we go.
A father and son killed while trying to defend their property. Joining me on the line now is Angus Lane, who knew the victims. Angus, thanks so much for your time this evening. And first of all, I want to really express how sorry I am that you knew these people. Can you tell me a little bit about both Patrick and also Robert?
Yeah, certainly, Charlotte, and thank you for having me tonight. Look, I do the announcing at the Royal Shows and shows around Australia. That's what I do for a living. I travel Australia all year, for 10 months of the year. And I had the great pleasure of being down at Bega in the Bega Valley for 21 years, where I met the Solway family. They're a wonderful family. They're involved in the dairy industry, and they're also very successful in the horse world. He was a great rider. He competed at local levels at Cabargo and Bega, all the local shows, but above all, his dream was always to do well at the Canberra Royal Show. He went to Canberra, Sydney Royal Show, where I was announcing at the Royal Queensland Show in Brisbane, and also Toowoomba Royal Show. So he and his mum Janelle and dad Robert, they're just so passionate about that part of the world. And when you hear of a tragedy like that, where I think dad was out on a tractor and young Patrick was on a motorbike looking after their livestock, it's an absolute tragedy. And in fact, it's quite horrific when you hear a story like that.
I think it's really hard, Angus, for people in the city to understand that these farms are really people's livelihood and they will defend them till the end. Explain to me just how important that property would have been to the family.
Well, to give you an idea too, just not their property, but I believe just outside Cabargo.
Hey guys, I wanted to say real quick, I know I'm talking about the scams and stuff. This was a story on the page where they were talking about the scams, and I'll get into that in a minute. But I wanted to share the story with the Australia bushfires. I seen the story, and I thought, you know what? This is something that people don't really think about a whole lot, as far as the protection that people will go, you know, to no ends to try and protect their property and their farms and all that. So anyway, I just want to let you know that I will be getting more into the scams here in a minute.
Cost setting level 2. ACCC warrant blank. Aussies blank. Link more. Link Alexis. Link carry. Link news. January's article. List of 2 items. Link video. Link image. List end. Video player region. Blank. /empty.core/grid blank. Heading level 5. You're watching clickable. Tolerance. Continue. Related content trending now. Continue watching button.
Okay, here we go.
Cabargo, there's one gentleman had his dairy burnt down, and he's actually had over 1,000 head of dairy cows destroyed in the fire. I mean, you know, we talk about the fireworks, and that's fine. We talk about motels and hotels in Melbourne and Sydney and wherever else, and if the fireworks are cancelled, then they lose business. Well, here's a man that's lost his whole livelihood. In fact, he's lost his whole life because, in fact, it's probably taken 4 generations or 5 generations to build that herd up, and he's just only one of many people. But for the Selway family, I can't imagine. Young Patrick he was just so passionate about what he did. He was a great friend to everyone. He was always congratulating everyone for their success, and above all, he was a wonderful young fellow with a young wife and also a young family. And I believe there may have even been another one on the way. But when you see these families that I've had associated with, just not one generation, but 3 and 4 generations of people that I've had the great pleasure of announcing for at shows throughout Australia, I mean, for my heart just goes out to them. I couldn't even imagine what they're going through. But that part of the world is just such a beautiful part of the world with so much to offer, and the businesses that have been burnt and lost, and the main street of Cabargo, just to see that on television tonight was an absolute tragedy. So look, all I can say is, on behalf of everyone in the show movement, I'm also patron of the Showman's Guild of Australasia, which I'm very proud of. Our hearts go out to all the families that have suffered loss, and there's many people around our nation that are our prayers and our thoughts and our sympathy and condolences go out to you all. You know.
Angus, the one thing that I guess we can take away from this is that the communities around the south coast of New South Wales, they are so tight-knit, and we can really hopefully take a little bit of peace away from this, that the Solways will be really taken care of by their friends and family across that region.
Well, Charlotte, I hope and pray that happens. And look, the show movement, by the way, is the biggest volunteer organisation in Australia, and so many of the wonderful volunteers from the fire services that come to the bigger show each year for the demolition derby, and they play such an important role, just not in the fires that they're out there fighting and leaving their families behind at the present time, but they also volunteer at the shows that I'm involved with and other organisations within the community. So, look, my heart goes out to those families, and it's going to be a huge loss for the community, and just a huge loss for not only the southeast of or southern part of New South Wales, where I know Andrea Constance is a local member down there. He's hard to go out to them too, but to all the people of the Bega Valley and the southeast of the southern part of New South Wales and Victoria, where I go to sail. Look, we're thinking of you all. That's all I can say, really.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time this evening, Angus. As I said, my heart goes out to you. I hope that you're dealing with this okay as well, and also obviously to the Solway family.
Thanks, Charlotte. And look, could I just say a very special cheerio to the lovely Andrea Crothers and congratulate her. I've seen her grow up. She was involved in the Miss Showgirl shows, and her mum has been the coordinator of the Queensland Miss Showgirl too. And
I'm going to mute. I'm going to pause that. I'm going to go over here and get rid of the. I'm going to take away the screen for a minute, you guys.
Mute currently unmuted. Audio settings buttons active. Start my video. Video settings. Open participants. New share button. Pause share buttons active. Annotate buttons active. More button drop. Dock the bottom buttons. Stop share buttons activate. Press space bar. Dock the bottom. More button drop. Annotate button. Pause share. New share buttons. Pause share buttons.
All right. I'm going to go over here, and I'm hoping this is working out okay for you guys. But it says there's already been dozens of reports of cons. Let me get to it. Okay, so it says here, just like I said, I mean, really, it's you know, if you are on a site and you're thinking that it's not legit, do not donate. Don't donate unless you know that it's 100%. And do what you got to do to check into it. Don't just, you know, tell your friend, hey, does that look legit? Don't go by what a page looks like. You need to go by who they are, the name, and you know, if you've never heard of them, you definitely don't want to donate. And I know that being Australia, there might be names you've never heard of, but you can check. You can always check with your legal authorities. You know, check with maybe even your PD and ask them. You know, you could even do some research online. You'll come up with all kinds of results that will help you out with that. So for now, just keep your eyes open. If you want to donate, by all means, donate. Down below, if things went right, you're going to find a link where you can go to donate to help out the recovery for the bushfires in Australia, all right? But just don't donate to, you know, anybody out there, because there's going to be some that's doing it just to collect the money. And people that do that are just as wrong as the 21 or 22 people that organized this crime to set this beautiful place on fire. It's sad. You guys go ahead and give us a subscribe if you will. Give us a thumbs up if you like the fact of us sharing this information with you, and be sure to click on that little bell there to set your notifications so that you are notified each and every time that we publish a video in the future.